Hi, welcome to Teach With Me. I am Miss Jen. Today we are going to be making the next picture in our Directed Draw series, our A to Z Directed Draw series, and we're on the letter K. And today we are drawing a koala bear and then doing the writing that goes along with it. Oops, this way. Anyway, you will need a felt tip pen, crayons, and printer paper. Let's begin. So make sure that your paper is turned horizontally, and that's what I would tell the boys and girls. And I'm going to say, boys and girls, find the middle of your paper and then go up almost to the top, but not all the way to the top. We're going to make a large circle, kind of an oval shape, I guess, but you can just say circle and you're going to get the shape you want. And then I'm going to say, boys and girls, we are going to, because koala bears have bigger heads, and I'm going to say, we're going to do his face first. We're going to go right in the middle of that circle, and we are going to draw an oval, a large oval. This is his nose. And we'll color it in a minute, and you'll see. Now, across the top of the nose is where we're going to put the eyes. You've got to tell them where, because otherwise you're going to get eyes over here or eyes way up here, and that's not where they are. They are right at towards the top of the nose. And what I like to do sometimes is to show them where their own eyes are in relation to their nose. So that is a fun thing to do, and I'll show that to you one time in another art project. All right, so now underneath their nose, they're going to draw the mouth, and it's really just two curves. Now I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to show you what this looks like colored in, so you can see that this will look like a koala bear's face. Okay, I've colored in the face, so it's starting to take shape. Across the top, you're going to make just sort of a zigzag. You're going to say, boys and girls, look, we're going to make 4 little zigzags across the top of his head. We're going to go up, down, or up, in, up, in, up, in, up, in. But did I touch the head? No. And so I said, so I don't want you to touch the head either. All right, now we're going to make the ears, and I'll show them my sample, and I'm going to do it with them. So the sample will be up on the board, but I'm also going to be making the sample with them. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to say, boys and girls, we're going to make the ears, but the ears are not going to be on the side of the face. They're going to be slightly above the side, and they're going to be slightly slanted. Now all of the ears are going to look different. This is one of those places where you're going to get all different kinds of ears. But I'm going to say, boys and girls, we're going to make a backward C on the side and a backward C on the inside of that same ear. We're going to do that on the other side as well. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make another backward C. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. This one's a correct C. Notice that the ears are different sizes because I just messed up. So I'm going to go on the outside of this one, you guys. So to make these more even. And my ears are the opposite of even, and that is okay. Now let me show you how we're going to that is so bad. I'm going to have to fix that. Now I kind of fixed the ears. Now the funny thing is, if it was the students doing that, I would let it be because I think it's adorable how they make their pictures. But I'm trying to make a sample for teachers, and so I don't want it to be completely lopsided. All right, so now we're on to the body. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the arms. So all you're going to do is you're going to tell them to come a little bit like below that eye, and I'm going to make a little curve that comes down and then pull it back up. So I'm going to do that on the other side as well. Pull it back, curve it down, and curve it back up. And then they're not going to be exactly the same, and that is okay. It's still cute. Now, they're not going to touch, by the way. Make sure you tell them they do not touch. Now, for the legs, that's a little bit trickier. So what you're going to do is you're going to tell them to come down a little bit, maybe put their finger there, maybe the middle of their knuckle. They're going to make a straight line. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start on that straight line. And I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go up to the arm, curve it around, and come back and touch where I started. And I'm going to make 3 lines, and then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing on the other side of the line, and I'm going to go up, start here, go up, touch the arm on the outside, curve it around, and come back and touch that line. and then draw three lines for the legs. Then I'm going to draw the log that he's sitting on, and so all I'm going to do is I'm going to make just sort of a horizon line right underneath him towards the bottom of him. And then when I get to right about here, I'm going to make a branch that comes up and then just kind of curves into the side of the picture. And then on here I'm going to make a few little lines just to show bark on the tree. And then I'm going to make a few leaves that come out of here. And again, a few lines on there as well. I'm going to make a few leaves and we're going to go like this, a curve out and a curve in with a line in the middle. A curve out and a curve in. And then I'll probably leave it at that one. All right, so then when I color it, I'm not going to color it and show you, but I'm going to give you my sample and show you what I did. So inside of his ears, you can do peach, you can do pink. The koala bear itself is gray. You're going to use a blue shading crayon for the background. And you turn it horizontally. Remember, these are those broken crayons that you don't know what to do with. Well, they make wonderful shading crayons. You're going to, of course, use brown here. And then that is all. So let's turn over to the writing now. And here we go. So when we do the writing, you are going to have a piece of paper that is not filled out. What do I mean by that? Basically a blank paper. You can leave this little beginning of your frame on or not. By this point in the year, I probably would not have it anymore except for those kids who really needed it. You're going to have these sentences written on the board already and whatever. And so let's begin. I'm going to show you how I would use this. Let me just give you some background if you haven't been watching the other videos. The first sentence is always going to be the one of the letter that we're working on. So K is for koalas. Every student has to copy K is for koalas, and they would write it right here on that first line. The second one, and let me show you something new. I'm going to go ahead and do this with you instead of using my sample. What I'm going to do is, if I give them the one with the frame, they're going to trace it better than I just did. K is for koalas, and remember, I'm making sure that they are using finger spaces, that they are forming their letters correctly. They're doing this in pencil, not marker. I'm just doing the marker so it's easier to see on camera. So up to this point, what I've been doing is, when they're done with their black sentence, I'll say, okay, now you're ready for the blue sentence. You did such a good job. Let's go ahead and do the blue sentence. And I'm going to read it. I'm going to say a baby koala is called a joey. I'm going to say, remember to put your finger spaces between your words. Remember to start your sentence with an uppercase letter. Remember to put a period at the end of your sentence. Up to this point, I've just been having them copy the sentences on different lines. But whenever I introduce a new concept, I'm going to be teaching it. This is where I'll teach it when it comes to sentence structure. All right, so or paragraph structure. So even though most kindergarten standards do not have them writing paragraphs, a lot of kindergarten standards have you writing sentences. But I see no reason you cannot begin to introduce the concept of how you would write more than one sentence if it's on the same topic. This is something we do all year long. We use the same frames, and each time I'm going to be introducing or reinforcing something I've already learned. So this time, in the last couple of videos, I've talked about how if you have extra room, start it on that line. Well, so now today I'm going to introduce that with this. I'm going to say, boys and girls, okay, so now we are on the blue sentence. Let's go ahead and write it. And up to this point, they've been writing it here. But I'm going to say to them today, where should we start that sentence? And they'll say here, because that's what we've been doing. I'm going to say, you know what, though? Do we still have room on this line? And they'll say, yes, we do. I said, well, let's go ahead and start it on this line because we still have some space. So they'll start copying that blue sentence on this line. And remember, the whole time they're doing this, we're doing this in small group. I'm watching how they're forming their letters, because I mentioned in some previous videos that if you learn how to write these letters incorrectly, or you don't work on your spacing and you just keep practicing that wrongly, it's going to be so much harder to unlearn it than it is to just learn it correctly the first time. And then I'm going to, once they're done with this and they've done it correctly, and again, if they don't do something correctly, I'm going to erase it. I'm going to use my eraser and I'm going to say, let's look at my sample. Did you remember, let's pretend that this was a lowercase. Did you remember to put an uppercase letter at the beginning? And they'll say no, and they'll say, all right, let's erase that and do that one again. And that's just how you do it. You just have to be consistent, and they do learn it. Believe me, they do. All right, so now, if they do this one pretty quickly and we still have time, I'm going to say boys and girls. There's a third sentence. Let's see what it says. Did you know koalas are not really bears? And you know, after the discussion, because there will be some questions, why is it called a koala bear? Then you're going to move on, and you're going to have them write the sentence, and we're going to ask that same question. Now, where should I start that sentence? I still have room here, right? So should I start it here or here? And now they've figured out that I want them to start it here, because this is now something we've been doing with the red sentence in previous videos, and now we're going to do it with the whole thing. So now I'm going to ask them to remember to put their spacing. Now this would be on the whiteboard. They're copying from the board, and if they cannot, if that's still too hard for them, then you're going to write it on a sheet of paper or a piece of scratch paper in front of them, on lined scratch paper, not just copy paper, because they need to see those lines. This is where we're working on our penmanship, also on our spacing, and they need those lines to see this, where they put their letters and so forth. Did you know koalas are, let me write this really quickly, not really bears. Did you guys know that? They weren't really bears? I think they're marsupials. Anyway, that is it for the writing. And that is also it for the lesson. If you found this content helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Tomorrow we'll be on the letter L. See you next time. Oh, I didn't show you my shirt. I have a new shirt today, so I like to show you my shirts when I have them. Here we go. It says, she teaches with grace and leads with love. Proverbs 31:26. Have a great day.